I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes before, so everybody can join.
Hello.
Hello?
You can continue. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, you could put yourself on mute until we get started, please.
Okay.
Good afternoon. This is a hearing before the Licensing Board for the City of Boston. Today is Tuesday, September 28th, 2021. This hearing is being conducted pursuant to certain temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the city's website. Prior to reviewing procedural matters, I will introduce Kathleen Joyce, the chairwoman.
Thank you, Maureen. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Licensing Board for the City of Boston, and today I'm joined by Commissioner Liam Curran and Commissioner Kiana Saxon. You're on mute, Maureen.
As a reminder, please ensure your audio and video are working. You will be required to be on camera to be sworn in. Please ensure that you are muted unless testifying before the board. I will read each item into the record in the order it appears on the agenda. I will ask you to present on behalf of who is present on behalf of the licensee, on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify. I will then swear in all parties. The police report will be read into the record. The licensee will have the opportunity to address the alleged incident, followed by questions by the chairwoman and commissioners. Number one, Ulivo, doing business as Canard Tavern, location 24 Orleans Street, East Boston. Violation number 008560, date of the incident, July 15th, 2021. Patron on employee assault, second person pedestrian joint assault in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Philip Frateroli, owner. Did you hear me?
Yes. And are you having an attorney with you or no?
I am an attorney.
Okay. And who is testifying on behalf of the Boston Police?
Officer Timothy Crowley.
I'm sorry, Detective Williams should be present. Dante Williams.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Detective Dante Williams, District A7, present.
Are there any other individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident who would like to testify?
Angel Negron, I'm the security. I was the security at the time of the locale, the Medalla Bar. And I'm with Lewis.
I'm the owner.
No, this is different.
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry.
Will all parties please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Detective, you can proceed with the report.
Okay, report number 212048574. from July 16, 2021 reads as follows. The Gold 416 Alpha Officer Ford responded to 24 Olean Street, Cunard Tavern to take an assault report. On arrival, the officer spoke to the victim, Sean Tortorici, who stated while working the front entrance door, he observed a white male customer causing a problem with the bartender. The victim further stated he asked the unknown suspect to leave, and he became very argumentative, stating, "Why don't you ask the bartender to leave?" And uttered some obscenities. Then the victim attempted to escort the suspect out of the building. A struggle ensued, and a second unknown white male, about 6'3", 260 pounds, wearing a white t-shirt, blue jeans, long hair, an ankle bracelet, entered the tavern and punched the victim in the face. The victim had a small cut to his bottom lip, a minor abrasion to his forehead, refused medical attention at this time. Victim further stated both suspects fled up Orlean Street in the direction of Sumner Street. I then followed up with a licensed premise inspection, resulting in the issuance of violation number 008560. And that violation was given to the manager at the time, Anthony Pino, who was in charge. And at that time, I requested video from the incident and left my card with my contact information to be notified when the video was available to pick it up. I also spoke to Mr. Pino at the time. He gave me some additional information of what had occurred that night. I also left my contact information for the victim to contact me. I didn't hear from him, and I didn't get the copy of the video. I didn't get notified that the video was ever available, produced. So I'm not exactly sure what happened with that. In the past, I've gotten video from this premise without any difficulty. So there could have been a breakdown in communication. I'm not exactly sure what happened. But as far as the information that I got from Mr. Pino the night that the licensed premise inspection took place, he told me that the individual that had walked in that night that was having the argument with the bartender was over not being served or being refused service due to his level of intoxication, and that he was asked to leave because of that. That ended up progressing to with a second individual who Mr. Pino described was not a patron at the bar, but rather someone who was walking down the street from the direction of where another bar is located. Just punched the doorman, who was the victim in this case, and the two individuals proceeded to walk away together away from this establishment.
Thank you, Detective. Mr. Cardaroli, would you like to speak?
Sure. I mean, I think in 4 years at Cunard Tavern, this is the first incident that we've ever had like this. And in those early days of July, we were kind of on the front lines of a big problem that the neighborhood was facing in another establishment that was over serving customers, and then just sending them out into the neighborhood. They operate on Massport land, and would, between Mass Board and BPD, was just not prepared for the amount of drunk people coming into East Boston on a daily basis. We had to hire for the first time a doorman, security person, because of the drunk people that were trying to get into the restaurant on a nightly basis. It's gotten a little bit better over the course of the last couple months, but it's been really the most difficult period of time that we've ever had in business. And I've been in the restaurant business for 20 years. And when we've originally, sorry, I got an infant here. Over here. When we, have reached out to the police told us that, just lock the doors. And that's what we've had to do. We're a restaurant that has to lock our doors at night because drunk people coming from the seaport, the dock, the waterfront, are overserved and like abrasive to our customers and our staff, and just ignoring staff taking over the restaurant. Luckily, it's gone a little bit better since the police has taken more of an interest in this issue, but it's been really difficult. And to have an employee assaulted like this, I'm disgusted. I really am. And it's never happened in all the years I've been in business. I am so ashamed to have to look at this person who stood up for the restaurant, stood up for what was right, and was attacked like this. But it's because there's an irresponsible business on the waterfront who lied on their applications. They said they were going to be a business of 250 people. There's regularly 2,000 people there, and the city has left us alone to fight it on our own, and we have to lock our doors. That's our only way to combat what's happening on the waterfront.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frederoli. This is a situation when a patron has attacked the employee, which normally wouldn't rise to the level of a public hearing, but I think this opportunity has shed some light on some of the other issues in the neighborhood. So I thank you for bringing those to our attention, but I don't have any questions about this particular incident report. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Number 2 on the agenda, Guzman LLC doing business as Medallo, location 411 Chelsea Street, East Boston. Violation number 008561. Date of the incident, July 17th, 2021. Off-premise patron on patron assault with dangerous weapon, to wit, a firearm, but in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, Chapter 265, Section 15A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Hi, my name is Luis Maldonado. I'm the owner to the Guzman LLC.
And who is present on behalf of the BPD?
Detective Dante Williams.
Will all parties please raise their right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Detective Williams, you may proceed with the police.
Okay, reading from police report number 212-048-844 from July 17th, 2021. It reads as follows. On July 17th, 2021 at 2:09 in the morning, officers Mirando, Sullivan, Venezia, and the Gold 101 Alpha unit responded to a 911 call for a person with a gun at 472 Saratoga Street, East Boston. That's the mobile gas station down the street from the Medallo Bar. Although the 911 call is described in the CAD text, described the incident to have taken place outside the bar at 472 Saratoga Street. Again, that's the address of the mobile gas station. The Medallo Bar is 411 Chelsea Street. They responded to the bar first, assisted by the Gold 201 Alpha unit, officers Lundy and Bang. The officers met with the caller, a light Hispanic female who refused to identify herself. The unidentified female informed the officers that as she and her 3 other friends were exiting the Medallo bar at closing, one of her female friends with multiple sclerosis fell down onto the sidewalk. Approximately 3 to 4 Hispanic males, 1 female laughed and made fun of the disabled female. In turn, 1 female friend verbally defended her, initiating a verbal argument. The suspects then departed the location and stopped at the mobile gas station, where the driver of the vehicle containing the 4 women, including the disabled female, also stopped and confronted the group of males. One unknown Hispanic male began to verbally defend the females. During the altercation, 1 male suspect retrieved what appeared to be a black firearm from his black Audi SUV and pointed it at this unknown man's face, who had confronted the suspect about his laughing at the females. No persons were identified during this incident, no registration plates were given, and no suspects were known to the unidentified victims. The suspect with the firearm was described as a thin Hispanic male, about 5'6" in height, 130 to 140 pounds, wearing a black graphic t-shirt with blue writing on it and black jeans. All females were uncooperative and refused to give any further helpful information. It's the end of the report. Subsequently, I went to the bar located at 411 Chelsea Street and conducted a license premise inspection and issued a license premise violation number 008561. The person in charge at the time was Monica Garcia. Copy of this violation was left with her, along with my business card for the owner to contact me. She ended up getting in contact with the owner while I was there, and he responded shortly after and gave us the video we were looking for that night. And tell you that I reviewed the video. It's the video showed this female, the disabled female, just accidentally falling on the sidewalk after leaving the bar. She was assisted with by her friends, the females that were with her. Shortly after that, there appeared to be a verbal confrontation between the group of females and a group of males. This confrontation then continued onto the middle of the street. It appeared that one of the security guys came outside, began dispersing appeared to be a security guard from the Medallo bar, began dispersing the group, and I think he closed the door, kept other patrons from coming out. And these 2 groups of females and males continued down the street. The cameras from Medallo showed that they ended up at the mobile gas station where this second incident took place, with the alleged firearm being pointed at an individual that it's unidentified because he didn't remain on the scene to speak to the police. So we don't know who he is. We never got a chance to talk to him. The females themselves, who ended up being witnesses to this incident, were initially uncooperative with the officers there, and I haven't been able to get any cooperation from them. The second establishment, the mobile gas station, appeared to have cameras, but upon further inspection of those cameras, they're just monitoring cameras. They monitor the pumps. They do not record, so we were unable to get a recording, a closer recording to what happened at the gas station, and we never obtained license plate to the vehicle involved. Although the description of the suspect it was very pretty detailed. So I did review the video from inside the bar from about an hour prior to this incident to when this incident happened. I did not see an individual fitting the description of the individual that pulled this firearm on the unknown male. Inside or outside the bar, he didn't appear to be involved in the incident initially with the males that confronted the group of females and were involved in the verbal argument. But you can see a black vehicle as described in the police report in the parking lot, in the gas station. But again, the individual that is described as a suspect in this incident, I was not able to find someone fitting that description on the video provided by the Medallo Bar.
Thank you, Detective. Mr. Maldonado,
Thank
do you have anything to say?
Yes, I was that day, I was here, I was outside the door. I got my securities with me too that day. That's a small issue. She fell down on the sidewalk that day, the four women's. And then I was outside, I saw everything, everybody starting to laugh from my business. And like I closed at 2 in, everybody left, make sure nobody's in the sidewalk. And later on, the police come and knock the door and say, "Oh, we see your cameras, something happens on the gas station." I help the police, I give it the video, and then all it started from there. But I'm very sure I was keeping eyes outside my sidewalk, make sure everybody left. And then that's how that happened that day. But I help the police much I can, get information. I've been calling Detective Willing, make sure he finds something, anything for my business. But I'm very sure inside my securities always check my business very well, detect any middle coming in inside to my business.
Thank you.
I have my security next to me too, who's here that day. He can speak with you. It can be awesome.
Hi, I'm Angel Negron. I wasn't sworn in. I don't know if you need to swear me in.
Yes. Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
On the night of the incident, it was pretty much a regular night. Everybody, it was a normal night. Throughout the night, you could notice there was something wrong with the lady, like medical wise. And now until I read the report, do I know it's exactly, MS? I mean, multiple sclerosis, I believe it is. And I guess she felt, there was a verbal altercation outside. I go to the back of the place, to kind of motivate people out of here while Lewis stays at the door, making sure, nobody comes out with drinks and nothing like that. So he notices the verbal altercation, calls me, I come out, we diffuse the situation, no big deal there. Everybody kind of, goes the wrong way. We finish closing out the place. I mean, I did notice, the crowd, moving down towards their cars and, everybody's still a bit agitated. You can still hear the excitement and whatnot. But as far as like in front of the premises, we did our part, I believe, in clearing out the place as safely as possible, which we did. And then after I finally closed out the place, made sure everybody was out of here, locking up. I'm walking home and I happened to walk by heading towards 472 Saratoga, where the second altercation broke out and it was going on. And at that point, I'm no longer I'm walking home. I'm not, no longer an employee of the bar. So for me to intervene would be putting myself at risk, overreaching in a way. So, I mean, I didn't see anything majorly drastic where I needed, I still heard the excitement and people, kind of talking and whatnot. But I did notice a group of people and, where the second altercation took place, like I said, at the time, nothing, that drastic was going on where I felt like I needed to get in. I did notice a group of males running away from that crowd, and 472 Saratoga jumping in the black, what I know to be a Audi SUV vehicle. And I was like, guys, try to keep it down, careful. And of course they replied like, oh, you ain't no security no more, da da da. I kept walking home, but that's pretty much how that night went.
All right, thank you for that, and thank you for that explanation.
Thank you very much.
I don't have any other questions. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
No questions, thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 3 on the agenda, 1732 Center Street, Inc., doing business as West, location 1732 to 1736 Center Street, West Roxbury. Violation number 044452. Date of the incident, July 17th, 2021. Assault and battery, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, Chapter 265, Section 13A. Assault and battery, patron on employee, in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, Chapter 265, Section 13A. Assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, pepper spray, patron on employee, in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Section 15A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Hi, Joseph Green.
And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant Detective Michael Milet.
Are there any other individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident that wish to testify? Will all parties raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
You may proceed with the police report.
Vote. This was written on July 17th, 2021, about 1:35 a.m. on Saturday, July 17th, 2021. Officer Suarez and Clark in the Echo 103 unit responded to a radio call for a fight at 1728 Center Street, West Roxbury. Upon arrival, officers observed several people outside the West on Center bar. Officer Suarez spoke with the doorman victim, Timothy Merrigan, who stated 2 unknown females and 1 unknown male were fighting outside the bar. Victim also stated the altercation, little error in the report, but victim also stated during the altercation he was pepper sprayed. Moreover, officers also spoke with Chris Ivory, the bar's manager, who stated he was thrown to the ground. Both parties stated the suspects fled the scene on foot toward Roach Brothers. Both victims refused to be seen by EMS. As a result of the incident on July 20th, myself and Detective Rockwell conducted a licensed premise inspection at 1732 Center, West on Center. The manager, Sarah Green, was on scene and was cooperative during the inspection. As a result of the incident on July 17th, license premise violation 44452 was issued for the following violations: A and B patron on patron, A and B patron on employee, ABDW pepper spray, patron on employee. All permits were found to be in order and no additional violations were found. The manager, Ms. Green, stated the establishment security tech people would be coming to download the footage of the incident for detectives.
Thank you, Detective. Mr. Green, would you like to say something?
Yeah, so that night, I can just tell you what happened. We did a little investigating, and the person who wasn't a regular patron of West, Nick Bonifilio, came in. He was definitely the aggressor. He got into an argument with another gentleman at the bar. At that time, they were definitely going back and forth with, verbally. We did manage to get him outside and calm the situation down. Unfortunately, we believe his wife was there. His wife was the one with pepper spray. And just as everything had calmed down, she pepper sprayed Chris Preby and our door guy. And, then it escalated again. And that's when we called the police. We had called the police earlier. The police arrived and took it from there.
If I could just point out, the owner, Mr. Green, did supply us with video and information related to the incident in the days that followed. The investigation's at a little bit of a pause right now because the detective who had it is out injured, so we might be reassigning it depending on when she's coming back. But we were provided with the video and information as to what happened from the establishment.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce?
I have no questions. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
No questions.
None, thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Number 4 on the agenda, BHC Corporation, general partner, doing business as Club Cafe, location 209 Columbus Ave. Violation number 044621, date of the incident, July 18th, 2021, assault, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
James Morgard, Chair, General Manager and Owner.
My name is Christopher Sterling. I'm an assistant security manager, and although I'm not currently in active status, I am a licensed attorney in Massachusetts in good standing.
Okay, thank you.
And Timothy Yeager, security manager.
And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant Mike Aziz should be present. I see his name on the participants.
Sorry about
Sergeant
that. Yep, I'm here.
Are there any other individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
I do.
Okay, who are you?
Christopher Sterling.
Oh, okay. Will all parties please raise their right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Sergeant, you may proceed with the police report.
Okay, this has to do with July 25th, 2021 at about 1:30 in the morning at 958 Tremont Street, Slades. The report that I'd be referencing is 212-051-118.
Sorry, Sergeant Aziz, dealing with the Club Cafe here.
Oh, I was not aware of
Columbus
that.
Ave.
I'm sorry, sir. I was under the impression that I was here for a different matter.
Okay. Lieutenant Troy, if necessary, I can read this report and Sergeant Aziz can answer any questions necessary.
Perfect.
Okay, that'd be fine. I apologize about that. I'm here for another matter as well.
Okay, just so you know, I don't think we have Slades on the agenda today.
Okay.
Next week.
But maybe you can answer some.
This is reading from an incident report authored by an officer, Steinman. About 2:30 a.m. on Sunday, July 18, 2021, Officer Steinman and Powell respond to a radio call for an assault and battery at 209 Columbus Ave, Boston. On arrival, officers met with victim Christine Flaherty, who stated that one of her friends were arguing with the suspect, unknown, described as a black male wearing a white t-shirt. The victim Flaherty attempted to break up a fight amongst the two once the suspect took her hand and placed it on her face and shoved her backwards. The victim stated that this unknown suspect had also assaulted another female who was not on the scene when officers arrived. The victim stated that the assault occurred in front of Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams, a store. Officers observed two cameras located where the incident occurred. The victim declined EMS. Victim was able to obtain photos of the suspect before he fled the scene. Officers searched the area to no avail. the Delta 910 Sergeant Aziz responded to the scene and issued a code 35, or conducted an inspection of Club Cafe for the violation assault patron on patron. And that's the report.
Thank you, Lieutenant Troy.
Those are essentially the facts as documented in that report. And I will say that the folks at Club Cafe were cooperative that day, despite the fact that they had not called 911, that it was the actual victims. But the incident happened inside the cafe, and we documented it as such.
Thank you.
Sure. Good afternoon to the board, and I would like to speak to the matters here. With all due respect in reference to the comments the officer just made, I do not think that they fully and accurately reflect all of the incidents that happened that night. This whole chain of events started with two people arguing over a cab outside on Columbus Ave and not inside the building. Around 1:42 a.m., myself and another security guard were standing outside, and we heard what appeared to be a verbal argument taking place in the street. We responded, went over to see what was happening, try to defuse it, get the parties away from each other. One party was trying to leave the area. The other one was a little bit more of an instigator, and he kept trying to go after him. There were a number of civilians in addition to our security who were trying to separate everyone and break it up. Eventually, the primary instigator pushed through some of the crowd and ended up shoving this one other individual. And at that point, I called 911 at 1:45 a.m. For this instance. The police arrived. One of the other parties had left the area at this point, and the police spoke with several people and then left the area. Sometime after that, a female approached me, and she stated that one of her friends was apparently assaulted trying to break up the fight, and that she wanted that person arrested. I told her that we had called the police for that when that matter happened, and that the police were not able to arrest someone for a simple assault that didn't take place in the presence. And I informed her how to fill out a criminal complaint at the police station if she wanted to do so. She then left the area. And sometime after that, we saw the primary aggressor from the previous incident back in the area. We told him to leave the area. He started to walk away, and then halfway down the sidewalk towards where Mitchell Gold is, he saw the female who approached me, and the two of them began arguing with each other. Fearing that this was going to escalate again, as it had earlier, I again called 911 at 2:29 a.m. Police arrived on the scene, and they spoke with a number of the individuals there, and then everyone sort of left. In terms of our policy for outdoor procedures, we have security outside from 8 p.m. until 3 a.m. or until everyone has vacated the area. In addition to our own staff, we have contracted an outside security force, which includes former police officers and military personnel to help deal with these situations when they do arise. To that end, in this situation, we did everything that we thought was reasonable to mitigate, diffuse, and prevent the situation from the moment we realized something was happening, i.e. a verbal argument. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce?
Just one question. How many security did you have on that evening?
In total, I believe that we had 8 on that night. I think at the time that the incident started, I believe there were 3 outside. And then once things escalated, I had radioed for more and people came out. At that point, I don't know the exact number because I was again trying to defuse the situation one-on-one with one individual.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
None, thank you.
Nothing additional. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you and have a good afternoon.
You too. Number 5 on the agenda, Concord Entertainment, Inc., doing business as Bill's Bar, the Lansdowne Pub, location 9 Lansdowne Street, Boston. Violation number 003165, date of the incident, June 18th, 2021. Assault and battery, employee on patron, in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good afternoon, Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee. With me this afternoon are Matt Casey and Wayne Angioni, who are general managers for the Lions Group, and I believe Katina Corapines, who's their risk manager, is on as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who is present from the Boston Police Department?
Detective Chris Spencer from District 4.
Anybody else? Any
Uh,
other individual with personal knowledge of the alleged incident who wishes to testify?
I'm also present as well, Officer Zarnock.
Will all parties please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Detective. You can proceed with the police report.
About 1:30 a.m. on 6/18/2021, Officer Zarnock and the Delta 499 responded to a radio call for an assault and battery report at 9 Lansdowne Street in Boston. Upon arrival, officers met the victim, Michelle Kim, who stated that approximately 2 hours prior to calling, she was assaulted by an employee of the Lansdowne pub. Victim stated that she had a glass of water in her hand and was approaching the door to the bar when she was grabbed from behind by an unknown female worker at the Lansdowne pub. Victim stated that the suspect put her in a chokehold and yelled at her that she could not leave the establishment with the glass. Victim described the suspect as a Black female, 28 to 30 years of age, heavy build. Victim stated she spoke with the manager of the establishment prior to leaving and was instructed to contact the pub the next day to discuss the incident further. The officer did not observe any signs of injury, and the victim declined EMS at this time, and the victim left the area without incident. The establishment was closed at the time, and so they were unable to perform a code 35 at that time. At about 8:58 p.m., I'm sorry, someone say something?
Go ahead. Nope.
Oh, okay. At about 8:58 p.m. on Tuesday, 6/29/2021, Detective Fencer and Detective Stoddard responded to the Lansdowne pub located at 9 Lansdowne Street and met with manager Wayne Angioni. Detectives issued license premise inspection notice citation 003165 for assault and battery employee on patron. Upon further investigation into this incident on 8/6/2021, Detective Fencer spoke with the manager of the Lansdowne pub, Matt Casey, via telephone. Mr. Casey stated that he did not have any video of this incident, which occurred between the victim and a staff member. Mr. Casey provided the following information on the staff member that was involved in the incident, Natividad Pizarro of 679 Parker Street in Roxbury. Mr. Casey also gave a contact number of Ms. Pizarro. On 8/9/2021, Detective Fencer made an attempt to contact Ms. Pizarro from the number that was provided to me by the manager of the Lansdowne pub, Matt Casey. The voicemail stated that the contact number was no longer available. After further investigation into this incident, complaints were sought out of Boston Municipal Court for assault and battery.
Thank you, Detective. Attorney Quilty, would you like to make a statement?
And if I may, I just have a question for the detective. Sir, did the management cooperate with you?
Absolutely, they were very cooperative, yes.
And did you, and it's Officer Zarnock who wrote the initial report, is that correct? Is he still with us? Yes, he is. Is it, in reading the report, I found it odd that the person indicated that 2 hours earlier something happened. So I mean, 2 hours after something happens is when she called the police.
That is correct. Yeah. Yeah, the whole street was pretty much closed down by the time I got the call.
And no signs of injury on this person, Ms. Kim.
I did not observe any.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, rather. And Detective, again, on the issue of the no video available, did they inform you that the violation notice was delivered, looks like about 11 days after the incident? And that did they inform you that their tape had run its course and expunged itself basically by that time?
No, they did not state that to me. We were in contact via telephone back and forth, and they never stated to me that the tape had run out. They said they were getting back to me, and when they got back to me, that they said that there was no video of the incident that period.
All right. Thank you, sir. And Matt Casey is with us as well. You spoke to Wayne. Wayne Angioni, are you here with us? Yes. would you unmute yourself? There you go. Did you interact with the detectives after the incident on the 20? Yes,
I believe it was cited after the night it happened, and I was on duty the day they came by.
day they came by, which was 11 or so days later.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you inform them at the time that with regard to the video being unavailable? Did you have that conversation?
I had to check on the procedure to get the tape, so I was explaining that I would have to get back to them on how we get the video stream.
And then did you inform them that it had run its course and expunged itself?
I informed my manager, Mac Casey, and we kind of took it from there.
Okay. And did you have any interaction with Ms. Kim, or do you have any personal knowledge of the incident?
I wasn't present the night of the incident, only the night the violation was cited. That was several days later.
And Mr. Casey is with us. I believe he did actually speak to this individual. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And could you inform the board what occurred?
Yes, I was there the night of the altercation. I witnessed the altercation. I can go through what exactly I saw and what occurred. What occurred was the individual in question, the patron, was leaving the restaurant with a beverage in her hand. That is, obviously against policy. You can't leave with any beverages in your hand, alcoholic or not. Natavidad, who is the person who works for us, called to her to stop. She sped up. Natavidad reached for the drink. The individual in question grabbed her wrist. Natavidad then placed her hand on the back of her neck shoulder area for about 1 second until she stopped, placed her hand there. And then another security person by the name of Skylar walked over, asked her for the drink. She gave it to them. She stopped. She called them both racist, and then she walked off on her way out. She did return to the establishment shortly thereafter, asked to speak with me. She did speak with me. She informed me that Natavidad had choked her out and thrown her on the ground, which was untrue. I told her that exactly, that I witnessed it, and that is untrue. She asked me several times what we were going to do to reprimand Natavidad. I would not give her an answer to that. She went on her way.
Thank you. The board may have some questions for you.
I don't have any questions, Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon.
I don't, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement. Number 6, Concord Entertainment, Inc., doing business as Bill's Bar, the Lansdowne Pub, 9 Lansdowne Street, Boston, Mass. Violation number 024612, date of the incident, June 26, 2021. Employee doorman assault and battery on patron in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
And again, Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee, and the same 2 individuals who have already been sworn are the witnesses on behalf of the licensee.
Who is present from the Boston Police Department that will be testifying?
Detective James Stoddard from District D4.
And are there any other parties?
And Officer Timothy Crowley, District 4.
Thank you. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed with the report.
Ma'am, I'll be referencing Boston Police Report number 212-043-286. About 1:24 a.m. on Saturday, June 26, 2021, Officers Crowley and Hassan, assigned to the Delta 105 Alpha, responded to a radio call for an assault and battery in progress at the Lansdowne Pub, located at 9 Lansdowne Street, Boston. The Kilo 914 Sergeant Silta and the Delta 103 Alpha, Officers Butcher and Santiago, also responded on scene. Upon arrival to the above location, officers were waved down by the caller, Robert LeConte, who informed the officers that he was just assaulted by one of the bouncers at the Lansdowne pub. Officer then had LeConte describe and point out the suspect. LeConte pointed to one of the bouncers later identified as Marquise Mayo. The officers then had LeConte brief them on the situation. LeConte informed the officers that he and his girlfriend, identified as Eliana Katrakos, got into a verbal argument with another male customer in the bar, at which time the bouncers escorted all three parties from the premise. After being removed from the bar, LeConte proceeded to go ask the bouncer why they were kicked out, at which time the bouncer proceeded to slap LeConte several times in the face. Katrakos also informed the officer that she was assaulted, slapped by the same bouncer. Both parties declined EMS treatment. The officers then proceeded to talk with the bouncer, who was identified as Marquise Mayo. Mayo informed the officers that they removed LeConte and Katrakos from the bar because of an altercation with another customer. After removing LeConte from the bar, he proceeded to get in Mayo's face in an aggressive manner. Mayo then told the officers that LeConte began poking him in the chest. After several requests to stop, Mayo told the officers that he struck open hand LeConte 3 times in the face. The officers then spoke to the manager, who informed them they did have security camera inside the bar. Sergeant Silta issued violation number 024612. As a result of a follow-up investigation, I spoke with the alleged victim, LeConte, who said that initially he corroborated the story, said he was slapped by the bouncer, said he just was questioning why he was thrown out, but did admit that he had a verbal altercation within the bar. Since then, he stated he wanted to chalk it up as a bad night, and he didn't want to move forward with anything. The other victim, alleged victim, Eliana, has refused to call me back. I've left numerous messages. I sent her mailed her a letter, no response back. I did speak with Mr. Angione and Mr. Casey, who were both very cooperative. Mr. Casey provided me with video. For whatever reason, the video wouldn't open, but he did provide it with me. I've been speaking with him, and everyone at the bar has been cooperative thus far.
Thank you. Attorney Quilty?
Thank you, officer, or is it detective or officer? I'm sorry.
Detective, sir.
Thank you very much, detective. I really don't have any questions. I think the tape, when you see it, will verify that the so-called victim was extremely aggressive with the person at the door. They were asked to leave because they were causing issues inside, and I think the gentleman at the door defended himself in this regard. But in any event, the video again is with you, and if there's any issue opening it, we'll certainly be able to provide a clear copy, I hope. But no other questions, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce?
Attorney Quilty, we have the video or the police have the video?
But I know we have preserved, the licensee has preserved the video. I think there was a copy given to the detectives, but it appears as though it perhaps couldn't be opened. And I'm just suggesting that we have preserved it so that it is available. If the detective's copy is not visible, we can certainly provide one for him or the board, whoever you choose to have us send it to.
Detective, is that, so you weren't able to view the video at all, Detective?
I was not. I'd say it was a corrupt file.
Okay.
I could try, I'll try it again, try it on a different computer, but as of now, I have not been able to view the video.
Okay. Attorney Quilty, you might want to try to send it to our office as well.
Okay.
Rebecca has been able to be helpful with some of these videos, but your testimony is that the doorman was defending himself.
It basically, I mean, the individual, the Mr. LeConte became extremely agitated, yelling, then began poking in the chest, and after multiple times, perhaps 7 or 8 minutes of being screamed at and poked at, the gentleman at the door basically open hand slapped him to stop him.
Okay. Okay, I don't have any other questions. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, do you?
None.
Nothing additional. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 7, Trattoria Panino Hanover, Inc., doing business as Trattoria 2 Panino Hanover, Inc., location 278 to 282 Hanover Street, Boston, violation number 024335, date of the incident, July 11th, 2021. Overcrowding 254, found on mechanical count 234 capacity, in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.03J, 1.06A and F. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good afternoon, Attorney William Ferrullo on behalf of the licensee, Trattoria Il Panino Hanover Inc. Also on the call is the General Manager, Joseph DiPasquale. Believe yes, I see him on the Zoom.
And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department? Detective Hernandez?
I am, yep.
Okay. Are there any other individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
Detective Gallagher, if need be.
Will all parties please raise their right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Detective, you may proceed with the police report.
Good morning. I'll be reading from a police report, which I wrote on Sunday, July 11th, 2021. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned to the BPD Licensed Premise Unit conducted a licensed premise inspection of Trattoria Il Panino located at 278 Hanover Street in Boston. While reviewing the license and permits of the establishment, detectives learned the capacity of the premise is set at 234 persons. Detective Hernandez performed a mechanical count of the establishment and discovered that the actual number of persons located inside the premise was 254. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Frank DiPasquale. Mr. DiPasquale stated that he would immediately bring the establishment into compliance and offered to turn the televisions off so as to disperse some of the patrons watching the sporting event. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 024335 for crowding of the establishment. Mr. DiPasquale signed for and accepted the notice as well.
Thank you, Detective. Attorney Ferrullo?
Yes, just a few questions, Detective. Detective, that was the day of the Euro Cup soccer match.
Yes, sir.
And to say the least, the North End was extremely crowded that day, people on the streets, sidewalks, et cetera.
Oh, yes, sir. It was very crowded.
And as you state, when it was discovered that there were more people than the capacity within Il Panino Hanover, that Frank DiPasquale, Joseph's father, who was on the premise, cooperated with you to disperse the extra people?
Oh, yeah, fully. Yes, sir.
And did he explain what had happened shortly before you arrived, as far as people rushing in from the street to?
Yeah, I think everybody was just interested in coming to see the game, and their setup is like a horseshoe there, so they must have at some point just maybe not accounted for everybody that came in.
Thank you, Detective. Briefly, what we would tell you is that was the day of the championship match of the Euro Cup soccer match involving Italy as one of the participants and winner of the match. North End was extremely crowded. What had happened was Italy had scored, and a number of people who were outside looking through the windows at the TVs that are right there at the bar when you come in, rushed in to watch the replays of this. And the only part of the restaurant that was crowded was that bar area at the TVs. We responded as soon as the detectives arrived by shutting off the televisions and escorting anyone that was not a customer out, and to take any of the additional people and have them either sit in the outdoor patio area or but off the premises.
Thank you, Attorney Ferrullo. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
I don't, thank you.
Just about staffing, how many staff people did you have there that night?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
How many staff people did you have there that night?
Joseph, could you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I would say it would be a full staff because it was technically a holiday Sunday with the game going on. I would say probably about 30 people.
Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 8 on the agenda, Yard House USA Inc., doing business as Yard House, location 126 Brookline Ave, Boston. Violation number 023973, date of the incident, July 28th, 2021. Persons under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 34A, 34C, 64, and 64A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Joseph Devlin of Upton Canal and Devlin. Also with me who will be testifying is Stephen Arakelian, who is the general manager and manager of record. Also with us is James Birdseye, who is the director of operations, which is akin to the regional manager that includes this location.
Thank you. And who on behalf of the Boston Police Department will be testifying?
Sergeant Detective Gallagher.
And are there any other individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
Dr. Hernandez if needed.
Thank you. Will all parties please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Sergeant Detective, you may proceed with the police report.
Yes, on Wednesday, July 28th, 2021, Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the BPD Licensed Premise Unit, conducted a licensed premise inspection of the Yard House located at 126 Brookline Ave in Boston. While walking in the bar area, detectives observed a large group of patrons drinking alcoholic beverages. Detectives noticed that these patrons looked young. Detectives asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. 4 of the patrons initially stated that they were 21 years of age. Upon further questioning, it was determined that the patrons were under 21 years of age. 2 of the patrons produced their valid driver's licenses, confirming they were under 21 years of age. The valid driver's license contained the identity of Claire Hallamore, 2/1/2001, and Carolyn Oman, date of birth 12/12/2001. Ms. Mikhail Carter, date of birth 7/21/2001, did not have her valid Mass driver's license. Ms. Carter did have in her possession a fraudulent Maine driver's licenses belonging to Ms. Hallamore, which they used to purchase alcohol. Detectives asked the group how they obtained the beverages they had. Individuals produced fraudulent licenses that contained the individual's correct name and addresses, but displayed a date of birth that made it appear that they were all over 21 years of age. The fraudulent driver's licenses were confiscated by detectives. A 4th person, Miss Jaden St. Germain, provided detectives a fraudulent Maine driver's licenses and walked away prior to detectives confirming her true identity. An R&B check later confirmed that Ms. Germain did have a valid Rhode Island driver's license with a date of birth of 4/20/2001 and is under 21 years of age. All 4 individuals will be summoned into court, being persons under 21, possession of alcohol. Ms. Oman, Ms. Hallamore, and Ms. St. Germain will also be charged with the fraudulent identification. Detectives brought to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. David Cafignia. As a result of what detectives had observed, Sergeant Gallagher issued a licensed premise inspection 023973 for 4 persons under 21 years of age in possession of alcohol. Mr. Configure signed for and accepted the notice. Those are essentially the facts of that evening.
Thank you, Sergeant Detective Gallagher.
You're welcome.
Attorney Devlin, would you like to make a statement on behalf of the licensee?
Just a few questions for the Sergeant Detective, if I may. So how many people, Sergeant Detective, were in the group?
There were more than 4. When we started asking for identification, some of them abruptly got up and left. I would say double, maybe 8.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And out of the IDs in the police report, there's 2 identified as having fake Maine IDs. What was the 3rd ID? Was it, do you remember?
Massachusetts, I believe.
Okay. And During the time of your interaction, was the staff and management cooperative?
Yes, sir, they were.
All right, thank you very much. That's all I have for the
Sure.
sergeant detective. Now, I would like to make a statement. My client is disappointed that they're here. They're not really disputing the facts. You know, two of the IDs were, if they were used, were fake main IDs. They have asked me to just summarize, you know, their investigation and what they've done, and for efficiency, I'm going to do that, but both of them are here to attest to anything I have said and further explain if the commission has questions. As far as an investigation, they're not quite certain whether they used the IDs that got in there. The David Cienfuego, the manager that was there, when he went up to the table, he thought the bracelets looked frayed and stretched, and thought maybe they had taken them out of the trash. One of the things that led him to that is that night, on event nights, they have carding at the door by a security staff or baseball games, which is what this was. And they had run out of yellow bracelets pre-game. And so they switched to a different color, but some of these people he noticed that they had yellow bracelets. And if they'd been re-entered, allowed back in, they would have been carded and given a new bracelet. So it's not quite sure where I had it. And they have a lot of people that come in through the door. So it would be, you know, hard to determine exactly, you know, find the person that carded them and have them remember it. But they have done a number of things to make sure that doesn't happen again. They use 3 different colors of wristbands. They're going to try to increase that to 4 or 7, and so that they can vary them on events. And each there'll be no pattern to how they use them, and they'll make sure that the wristbands can't be reproduced from the day before. They also have instituted manager spot checks of tables during event days and game days. So that there's 6 to 8 managers on staff during those times. They're going to canvass the dining room. They'll go up and ask people for IDs. They'll do the same thing that the police are doing, looking for younger looking tables. They'll ask them for IDs. They'll also examine their wristbands. They're also encouraging their staff to do this at pre-meal meetings, and they're going to reward them if they do discover some people and immediately cease service. They're going to reward them with different employee perks they have, like additional free meals, and you get to choose your schedule and things like that. They have spoken to the staff and the security group about this incident, and just reaffirmed all of their protocols and things that they're supposed to do, like not letting anybody back in with a bracelet, giving them a new bracelet. Probably most important that they've done is they have engaged the bars company to do compliance checks at least once a month. And they're going to focus on game day and event days and the protocols that are supposed to be followed at event days. The Yard House is now owned, probably the last 8 years, by Darden Restaurants, which own a number of concepts, including a large number of Olive Gardens. And so this really works across the state when they have issues like this across the country, that these bar programs encourage and get their staff to do best practices and adhere to the best practices, and also catch violations, or things that would lead to a violation, because none of these people are under 21 who come in for bars. And that's really, really helped. One of the things about the spot checks they're going to do as well is that they're going to put a sign on a stanchion at the door that says, even though you get past security, you're going to be spot checked. Be prepared. We reserve the right to spot check, and we will remove you if you're under 21. I reviewed, one last thing. They are looking into, the manager had noted that the police may have mentioned an ID app that you could use for phones and iPads and make it a little more. They do have a scanner at the point connected to the point of sale system, but if they could get something that was out on the sales floor in the dining room, they definitely will. They're looking into it. They're a large company, And they do have data security issues, so it takes them a while for that machinery to move, but they will look into it. Darden has owned the company, this concept since about 2013. I reviewed my records. The last time they were here for a sale of a minor was July of 2017. So it's been 4 years. The only other one I could find was one sale of a minor that didn't result in a violation. So for a high volume place, they do run a good place, but they want to run a better place, and they're going to take the steps to do that. Mr. Birdseye and Mr. Arakelian, you're here to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Devlin. Chairwoman Joyce?
Attorney Devlin, this restaurant is in a prime neighborhood for events, special events and games. So they have to be on their game when it comes to identifying underage. Can you tell me again, on this particular night, what did they do to check IDs? Do they use their scanner? Do they just do a physical check of the IDs?
They have a physical check of the ID. They have a security company that they pay to run the entrances. They bring experienced people who with alcohol service and identification. They do have a scanner for any questionable IDs. They can bring the scanner, but they do have to bring it to one of the point of sale system.
And did they use the scanner that night for these out-of-state IDs?
There's just, I mean, there was probably 1,000 people in there, like over the night. I don't know if they know. Stephen, do you want to come in on this one?
They only use the security team will use the scanner if they suspect an ID to be fraudulent. My understanding was that, and I could be wrong, but that the BPD that night had told Dave Schifani, the manager, that the IDs were really, really good and would have been tough to have identified as being fraudulent.
Okay, Detective Hernandez or Sergeant Gallagher, you guys were there. What did you think of these IDs?
They were pretty good. The problem with their scanner is that it's in the middle of the restaurant, like the one we saw, and it wasn't at the front door, so that the door guys would be better suited if they had that closer to them so they could utilize it. As the night went, we went in and we have quite a collection of fake IDs, and we brought some in. And in talking to the manager, we asked him if he had a scanner. He said yes, and we said, well, let's see how it works. So we gave him the IDs we had that we knew to be false. Detective Hernandez had probably about 10 of them, and all 10 of them scanned as being good IDs. And that was of some concern to us. And then we observed the table with the underage kids, and that led to the violation.
So here I am trying to process this. This is a big company and a nationwide company. This incident was in July, and
Correct.
You have yet to get a new scanner. And you were testifying today that there was thousands of people there that night, and the only scanner that you had was in the middle of the restaurant. It doesn't seem like a great procedure or security measure, especially in this neighborhood.
And by the way, that scanner failed horribly. It was horrible. Almost every ID we put through there, they all said they were good, and they were all fraudulent licenses. So if they're using that machine, not good.
We're going on 2 months, and it sounds like you're going to look into scanners, or it doesn't seem to be a great response to a scanner that proved to be not working that night.
If I could, the scanner that we were using isn't attached to the POS system, so it's not any kind of credit card information or anything like that. There's no risk of any kind of breach. What Attorney Devlin was talking about was higher end equipment, I believe, that would be attached to the POS. And that's where the delay comes in, because that's where the cybersecurity comes in. These scanners are standalone. We did some research online. We hadn't used them in years past, but having seen and having caught ourselves a number of identifications that we thought were fraudulent, we thought it would be a good idea to invest in a scanner. And it wasn't until that night that we realized that the scanner that we purchased, which we had done a lot of research on and had good reviews, wasn't obviously
Okay.
a top of the line scanner. So that's, I think, hopefully answers the question.
And I understand there's complications being part of a larger corporation. However, I can't look past the fact that this particular restaurant is located in a neighborhood that has tons of events, concert events, sports events. The marathon goes right through there. It's just not acceptable. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
Not in addition to yours, thank you.
The scanner that you do use, does it log scans at all?
I'm sorry, what was that, sir?
The scanner that you do use, it doesn't like keep a log of scans that you've done?
We've never gone through and checked the old log of scans, no. No.
Does it doesn't, or you don't know it if it does?
It doesn't on the actual scanner itself. I don't know if there's software for the company that we could access a log of the scans. I've never thought about going back and looking through a log of scans. I'm not sure why we would do that, or what you would.
You were asked whether or not these licenses were scanned.
No, I had asked earlier.
I mean, the question was posed to your group. So anyone could have answered whether or not, and the answer was there's no way of knowing, right?
I think the answer was it's not easy to find out given the number of people that came into that location. They didn't check the log. No, they're not arguing that the IDs are fraudulent. I just like to point out to the board, they've had this is not the first time the Boston police have been in this location, given where it is. They've had 2 sales to minors even alleged in the last 8 years. Given the number of people that come into that location, they actually run they're pretty proud of the way they run. They're not proud that they're here tonight, and there are things that they need to address. But 8 years with 2 violations, with 2 alleged violations, only one, resulted in a warning 4 years ago. This is the Boston Police Department. Sergeant Detective Gallagher would I'm sure back me on this, has been in there often, that they do visit this location quite a bit. So look, there are things, they came in here and they admitted there are things that they need to improve here, and they're going to do it. But 8 years with two violations, or 2 alleged violations, is that is a testament to that they're doing something right, but they can do better.
I think, and I appreciate the mitigating measures you put into place and the retraining of the staff, but you have to ID these people, especially in this neighborhood.
Agreed.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you very much. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. We have one item left on the agenda, but we're going to take a brief 3-minute break.
Lisa.
It's like black signage with gold leaf, like embedded stuff. I had them priced out even for the salon. It's $5,000, which I thought was insane. Yeah, they're not even that. See if we can find something else.
I could hear some of the people talking.
You like that look though? I don't know unless, it'll stick out. If you look like that. Let me think about it. Okay, thanks.
Learn how to use mute.
Thank you. The last item on the agenda is 44 Concord Square LLC, location 44 Concord Square, Roxbury, Mass. The date that this informational hearing went out was August 10th, 2021. This is an informational hearing regarding management and operation of the licensed premise due to numerous quality of life complaints from residents in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 140.
I just want to say a few words before we begin with this agenda item. This is an informational hearing. This is not a violation hearing. This is not a hearing to determine whether or not we should revoke this license. This is to gather information regarding the management and operations. We are here today to listen to the people that have contacted us or anyone else who wishes to testify. No one should feel forced to testify. So we are here to listen, and because of the number of complaints that we've received regarding this establishment.
Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Hi, Maureen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Attorney Joe Hanley, McDermott, Quilty and Miller. I represent the Mount Vernon Company, who is the property owner and the licensee under the lodging house license. With me is Bruce Pursley, who is the chair and founder of the Mount Vernon Company. Also with me is Eric Shenrock, who's the vice president of the Mount Vernon Company, and the Mount Vernon Company's lodging house operator, Thierry Rignall from Corporate Housing Solutions. Just to make a brief statement, Madam Chair, it was read into the record that there was numerous violations provided on this. My client, the Mount Vernon Company, they take their role in the neighborhood and the city very seriously, have a very good track record and experience for operating responsibly. We were not provided with any complaints or any information up until we had received this notice in August. There was one email that we received from a neighbor, and that was it. So we too are here to listen, and we greatly appreciate that this is an informational hearing. And what I've done is, in advance of this hearing, Mount Vernon Company asked me to get as many records as possible, and we've huddled up because we do want to make sure that this long existing lodging house use at this location is operated responsibly. So according to our notes, there were 5 areas that were identified in your records. Concern about the classification of the short-term rental occupancy or license, trash storage, vermin, noise, and some alleged illegalities at the premises. And so my client put together a memo, which we sent over in advance to the licensing board, detailing our input on that. The first thing I'll say with respect to the short-term rental, this is a use that's been in place for over 20 years at this location. My client bought the property 7 years ago. Lodging houses are exempt from the short-term rental ordinance. This is an existing lodging house. Having said that, when we were notified that we should perhaps have a short-term rental license, Mount Vernon immediately proceeded to apply for that, and it's been issued as STR number 45765, and that's in the memo that we put together. The trash storage, just to give you some background, hospitality was essentially decimated by the pandemic. And for a 12-month period back in 2020, there were only 4 residents at this building. So it was not at its capacity, and that's not necessarily unique for any hospitality operator in the city. And when we got through the pandemic, Mount Vernon engaged Corporate Housing Solutions, which is really one of the best in the business, to operate under their discretion, under their direction, I should say, and brought new furniture in and outfitted the lodging house component. And during that time, there were some boxes and stuff that was stored in the back. And that's a mea culpa. That should not have happened. And my client it won't happen again because the folks who stay at this building do not bring furniture. It's a furnished living environment. But having said that, they've also taken measures to make sure they have proper containers in the back. They've installed cameras at the rear to make sure that no one is putting refuse there that doesn't belong to our building. And also to keep the trash inside and bring it out only for collection times. With respect to the vermin, we've also updated pest control. There's no food service. This is a short-term rental environment. There's not a lot of waste that attracts vermin. That's a problem in the neighborhood, but we're also here to work with the community and do our part. As for the noise, there was some notations in your file about noise coming from our building. We've not been able to find any evidence of that. One of the things about short-term rental is when people are staying in a unit and they hear noise, they tend to complain to the operator. Having said that, we realize our responsibility, and if in the future, if there's noise emanating from the property, we've set up a website, which is in the letter that I sent, and a hotline that is dedicated for members of the community. We provided a cell and text contact and an email that is community@44concordsquare.com. And that was also put in in the memo, and we have placed this at the building as well. And the final thing I will say, and I appreciate, Madam Chair, that you said this was a informational hearing and not a violation. So, kind of trying to find out what is at issue with these alleged illegalities. And in looking at your file, we're not aware of any police reports or any violations that are issued. We did look through the police calls and ask for police records to be proactive. We found that just one this summer resulted in a police report. And we've asked VPD for a copy of that report, but we haven't received it yet. As far as alleged drug dealing and things of that nature on our property, we've no evidence. We've not been provided with any evidence. But this isn't a defensive posture. What this is a collaboration with the community. Mount Vernon operates hospitality businesses, including a hotel elsewhere in the South End, the Revolution, and others in Nantucket, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Maine. They have an impeccable reputation. And so if there are any illegalities, we want to participate in the community policing. And so we've set up security cameras at the front and the back of our building. And those cameras also have motion detection and remote recording. So if there is anything that is surveilled, we can provide it to the police and we can help alleviate that or address it. The final thing I will say is in working with Corporate Housing Solutions, they have an extra step of requiring photo IDs and doing a background check for people who stay at the lodging house. And that's something that's more than what is required, but it is a measure that we feel will help to provide any stopgap or an additional stopgap so that we can continue to be good community operators. And so thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to go through this. I know it's informational, but the Mount Vernon Company, takes this very seriously, and we want to work closely with this board, with the neighbors and the community.
Thank you, Attorney Hanley. And where did you send that email to? Was it to the licensing board or did you send it to someone specific?
It was to the licensing board. Email was sent by Mr. Shinrock yesterday. We can send it again now. I believe he may have included Ms. Delaney Hawkins' email, who I know is since gone, but we can send another copy over. I know it's informational, but we wanted to get in front of this. And of course, we're here to continue to work with you.
I do have it.
Thank you.
So Maureen, I think the best way to go about this is I'd like to ask some questions of Attorney Hanley and his client, reserving my right to ask questions after the public have an opportunity, as well as my fellow commissioners have an opportunity. And I just want to try to get a better understanding. Explain to me a little bit in better detail what the relationship is between Mount Vernon Company and Corporate Housing Solutions and how long that relationship has been in place.
Yeah, so it's a management and consulting contract, and Eric Shinrock is on, who can tell you a little bit more about that. Eric?
Yeah, so we partnered with Corporate Housing Solutions to help manage the short-term rentals there coming out of the pandemic. This starting in July, when the hospitality business had resumed. Prior to that, we had another similar partnership with a different operator who didn't make it through the pandemic at this location. So when the hospitality business returned, we partnered with Corporate Housing Solutions.
I will say, Madam Chair, if I can too, this is very typical and standard in hospitality. You license hotels and you license lodging houses, and virtually every hotel and hospitality operator has a management entity that works under its discretion. We're very aware of our roles and responsibilities for control under the license.
That's fine. I just want to know in greater detail who's responsible for the day-to-day operations at this location.
Yeah, and so the answer is Mount Vernon Company and its management entity, and with the communication information that we posted to that reflects that, because Mount Vernon is very much a part of that oversight.
So when a neighbor has a complaint, in addition to them calling our office and 911, who do they call at Mount Vernon Company? Where does that number and that text alert go to? Is
it was just set up. Again, we were just aware of this recently. So Eric, do you want to speak to that program that you set up?
That number forwards to several of us at Mount Vernon Company, as well as staff at Corporate Housing Solutions, so that somebody can respond as quickly as possible. So that's what's unique about those numbers. In past, in our community engagement on this issue, or on the lodging house license, in the past, we had provided direct contact, my cell phone, Bruce Pursley, the owner's cell phone. A lot of these complaints, as Joe noted, never made it to us. So we're hoping that this consolidated method of communication will be more helpful.
Okay, and can you give us an idea of how long it would take for you to respond to an average call?
Within an
I'd like to-
hour.
Yeah, I mean,
What's your plan? Like what, so the community's here listening. I'm trying to pull this out of you. If they call, what is your internal plan? What do you tell your employees how long they have to respond to a call?
We have 24-hour maintenance. It's local and in Boston every day of the year. So we always have somebody close by that could respond. For instance, if it was a noise complaint, we would send somebody over immediately.
Okay, that's exactly what I'm trying to get at. You know, what your policies are. It sounds like you've been in this business for a long time, so there must be some internal policies about how many people are on call, how long it takes them to respond to such calls, you know, with who's on call overnight, just, you know, how
That's
many.
right.
And Mount Vernon is local too. They're Boston based and, you know, so it's very hands-on.
And Mount Vernon manages hundreds or thousands of units, is that right?
yeah.
Yes,
And how many lodging houses does Mount Vernon manage?
I believe we have 3 in Boston currently.
And where are those located?
The other is 119 Berkeley Street. And then the third that's potentially a lodging house or an inn, I would have to confirm, is 56 Berkeley Street. That may be under an inn holder's license.
Yeah, and the Revolution Hotel at 40 Berkeley is a property that Mr. Pursley and Mount Vernon sort of repositioned and upgraded, and that had both hotel and lodging house licensure. And they also run hospitality hotels in Nantucket, New Hampshire, Maine, and Rhode Island. All have great reputations for operating responsibly and without incident.
So this operator has a history of successfully operating lodging houses in the city. What happened with the breakdown in communication here between the neighborhood and the Mount Vernon Company or Corporate Housing Solutions?
We, as Joe noted, there was maybe 10 or so complaints that reached the board and Maureen provided to us. Of those complaints, we had only heard directly from one of the neighbors. We responded to her same day, tried to open up a conversation, and after a few emails, offered to meet in person, offered to schedule a call, to which we didn't get a reply. So in this case, we didn't have the opportunity to respond to any of these concerns on our own.
And I do know Leslie Delaney Hawkins, when she was with the board, had reached out to someone, it might have been you, Eric, or someone who worked for Mount Vernon with some complaints we had received, and they responded immediately that they had gotten in touch with the neighbor, I think put up a fence or something.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think, Madam Chair, it's just, you know, some of the circumstances around the pandemic, and it's not to say that it's to blame, but, you know, again, lodging and hospitality in Boston was really severely impacted. And, you know, the building didn't have a lot of occupancy, and then it went back to normal, right? Or back to capacity, right? And I think
that brings up another question I have. We had this issue with other locations in the city during the pandemic, and we did have a citywide meeting for lodging houses. I forget now, 6 months ago. I'd have to look back to see who was in attendance, but we learned at that meeting that lodging houses and hotels had reduced their rates significantly during the pandemic, and it resulted in some desirable people renting these places, or lack of management, not overseeing who was coming and going. Can I ask you what the average length of stay is at this lodging house?
10 days.
10 days, okay. And you said during the pandemic, you only had 4 people staying there?
Yeah, which, I mean, if you take that to most hotels and most lodging operators, that's probably average, but I'll let Eric speak to that a little more in detail.
That's accurate. We tried, when the short-term rental market evaporated, to lease them on a monthly basis. and had very, very limited success, even at much lower rates than what we charged as furnished rentals. So at the maximum, we had 4 of the units filled on slightly longer term leases.
So what were you charging to stay before the pandemic, and what did you charge to stay during the pandemic, and what are you charging now?
I don't have data readily available on pre-pandemic. We had a partner in that case that was managing the rate setting. During the pandemic, we got leases at effective rents of about $1,500 on those few units. The face rents were slightly higher, but we were giving 2 or 3 free months for somebody to move in. And post-pandemic, Theory from Corporate Housing Solutions is on, and I think has that data available. Theory, could you speak to our average rates since we've reopened in July?
Yeah, average rate across the board is $125 a night. And it's higher if you're staying only a few days, and it's discounted if you stay longer.
Okay.
And that's outside of all the fees that would be charged on top of that. So the net to consumer rate is probably around 200 if you're just spending one night.
Okay. And you testified, or your attorney testified today, that you have installed cameras out back?
Yes, as well as in front of the building.
Okay. Does anyone from Corporate Housing Solutions or the Mount Vernon Company actually stay on site? There were some messages or emails that stated that they had recently had staff staying on site.
Yeah, during the period where we were improving the units and reactivating them, Corporate Housing Solutions had staff living on site for, Theory can give us specific dates. I believe it was the month of July and half of August, and then again from September 1st to the middle of September.
Is that for security reasons or for rehabbing these places?
For operational reasons, getting things set up.
But not for security, not to, so on an average night, how many people are working? Is there someone at the front desk? Is there?
We don't have a desk. This is only, it's 16 rooms, so it doesn't warrant, there's no front desk at this property. We have people there daily.
How do you monitor people coming in and out?
Theory, can you speak to the access control system? And
Yeah, there's smart locks on all of the doors, the outside public doors, and then each suite has its own smart lock. And when someone has a stay and they've completed the required steps that we require, i.e. submitted their ID, submitted a selfie with their ID, front and back, standard process you have at any hotel, and we do that virtually. They get a code to get into the building, which is the last 4 digits of their phone number. So we know at any given time who's entering in any given door anywhere in the building. That code is active for the length of their stay. It's not active before, and after their stay ends, that code expires.
So is there any way to monitor how many people are using or are entering a unit? I know you're doing this virtually, so there's no one actually meeting the person who rented the place, it sounds like. Is that right?
There's only 16 units in the building. There's no front desk. It's a self-catered process where you complete your check-in ahead of time online. That information is verified by a human being, by a real person who would check you in, just like they would at a front desk. And then you're given access to the building virtually as well.
So does Corporate Housing Solutions, a Mount Vernon company, monitor security cameras at night? Like I could have rented it, but then brought 3 of my friends in. I also license bars, and I know I've actually been in a bar, and a manager might see me in a bar, and then I'm told that I was spotted in a bar. Do you keep your eyes on your property?
Yes. Short answer is yes.
I do this from home.
Sorry?
I know that this can be done from home, so you don't need to have someone on site.
Correct. I mean, all the cameras are wired into the cloud, and there's someone monitoring them 24/7. Any motion that's detected is also recorded and stored and can be accessed at any time within the next 60 days.
Have you ever had to go and call one of the people that rented the place to say, geez, you brought 4 or 10 people in?
The units are very small. The units are very small. They barely fit a queen size bed. I don't really know how you would get, 4 is really pushing it. Any more than that, you can't even fit people. And we've never.
Has that happened that you've seen that people have allowed others in?
It's never happened. And beyond that, the rooms are very close to each other. And instances where someone would have their TV too loud after 10 p.m., for example, is immediately reported by the folks that are on either side of that room. And that's immediately corrected. And generally all you have to do is give a call to that individual who is their TV a little too loud and say, hey, could you turn the TV down a bit? Thank you so much.
Okay.
There hasn't been any parties, any one person booking it and having 50 people show up. They wouldn't even fit in the space. All that's monitored. And during the day, from about 8 in the morning to 8 at night, we have staff on premise monitoring who's going in and out. So if you were to arrive with 4 of your friends at 4 in the afternoon, we would know that because we have staff on site taking care of the building, taking care of the housekeeping and the maintenance, that would see you come in physically beyond the security camera footage recordings that we have in the monitoring.
Okay.
Can
And
one,
what are the hours that people are there on site? And that's my last question.
We have housekeeping on site every day from 8 to 8 roughly.
Okay, Commissioner Saxon, sorry about that.
I'm sorry. Can one person book more than one room?
No. Each person's required to provide a proof of ID, front, back, and a selfie that's tied to a unique room. If that person submits it twice, that would automatically be flagged, initially assumed as a mistake. And then if they do have 2 confirmed bookings, one of them will be canceled.
And is there an automatic flag if the code has been submitted more than once or even twice if there are 2 people? Say if the friend gave his or her code out to all of her friends.
There's a detailed log and a notification every single time a code is entered. So yes, if someone was using their code 50 times, we would see that. And most folks, the behavior, and I think this is probably what most of us do when we travel, we stay someplace, we go out for the day, we come back for the evening, maybe we go back for dinner and then come back. You're looking at 2-3 entries at once. Someone who would be sharing their code with 50 people and we have 50 entries all at once would pop up immediately and it would stick out. Because it's not normal behavior to go in and out of the building 50 times during the day when you're traveling. And I'm assuming none of us do here. And that's sort of the behavior we expect from from folks going in and out.
And as it relates to the guests that are coming to this property, Joe touched on it, but I just wanted to reiterate that part of the reason that we decided to work with Theory to help operate the building is because they take a really extraordinary step, which is that they run a TransUnion criminal screening on everybody that applies to rent a room here. It's something that no hotel does, very few short-term operators do. But his team is reviewing the criminal history of anybody that asks to rent a room here and rejecting the reservation if there's any significant criminal history that's documented by TransUnion. So we're really, before we even heard of these complaints, we were making a real effort to go above and beyond with our screening process.
Commissioner Curran, do you have any questions?
I'll reserve, thank you.
Chairwoman Joyce, do you have anything else or would you want the public to speak?
I'll just reserve my questions for afterwards. This has been helpful to understand the relationship that we can move on to members of the public.
Who would like to speak on behalf of the community? Renee,
Yes.
you may speak.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, Chairwoman Joyce, Commissioner Saxon, and Commissioner Curran. I'd also like to just recognize our neighborhood liaison, Kim Crucioli, who's done so much work with us on this, and Nick Bornstein from John Santiago's office, and Tally Robbins from Michelle Wu as City Councilor at Large office. Today, we're here to really ask, we appreciate the informational interview and appreciate the testimony from Mount Vernon Companies and Corporate Housing Solutions, or the information, I guess, to say. It's important for us to be educated on everything. I think the biggest difference from a community standpoint is that what we're hearing and what we're actually experiencing are two dramatically different things. So I've been here, so I'm Renee Smith, this is my wife, Kate Ledoux. We've been at 42 Concord Square, we're a direct abutter for 20 years. In all the 20 years up until the past two, this lodging house is operated as a lodging house operates, right? Providing, transitional housing for young professionals who often incorporated seamlessly into our neighborhood. We've had them over for dinner. And then all of a sudden it unraveled into a haven of essentially transients, attracting a vulnerable population, drug deals that we witnessed. And unfortunately, if Boston Police doesn't have records, we'll go into that a little bit. But also this occupancy thing is way out of whack. It has happened time and time again. We'll meet couples who are in one of the studios when it's one studio, one person, 16 people total. So we are patently against what was stated by Mount Vernon and the representatives here today. I think our biggest thing is you're going to hear from other folks too that are direct abutters. We're prioritizing direct abutters that, we don't just leave our building. We're full-time residents because of the pandemic, and after the pandemic, both Kate and I work from home. You're going to hear that from other folks too. We use our deck and front stoop regularly. Our neighbors will testify to that. We're often talking and seeing everything. For clarity, our front stoop is in clear visibility to the front of 44 Concord Square. Our rear deck, because we're at the parlor level, is maybe 10 feet. 20 feet, 50 feet from the entry, the rear entry to 44 Concord Square. So much of what we've seen, what we've heard today is really patently false. So on several, I'm going to start with safety and security. Several occasions we witnessed drug use and dealing. We have found guests, not just one, not just a one-off, passed out on the front stoop, unable to move. We witnessed cars parked in the back area with guests exchanging bags in hurried fashion with non-guests. We used the city vehicles of 311 and 911 and engaged with the police department at D4 to a point that they elevated the situation to the Boston Police Detective Drug Unit. We have the names of those two detectives that we're happy to provide to the licensing board following this meeting. We actually engaged them on our stoop. What they shared with us upon their surveillance and is that at least two of the guests that they noticed who were not here just for one night or 2 nights, which we're not sure how that happens anyway, were here multiple times on multiple occasions, came, left, came back, left. Were known drug dealers operating on Mass Cass and potentially in New Hampshire. And why I like to say we can throw this up to a one-time circumstance, but when you have repeat, drug deals and drug offenders, the same people who we come to recognize without proper management on site. So even if there is someone on site, they certainly do not leverage the authority to manage the property on site. Pretend, maybe they're managing trash, but they're not managing occupancy or people. This situation has made me feel unsafe. I lived in New York City for quite a time when it was not safe, really not safe all the time. This is not safe. I don't feel safe in my neighborhood and my home for the first time in 20 years. Second thing, I heard that while existing lodging houses under the short-term rental ordinance are not subject to certain provisions of the short-term rental ordinance, that doesn't mean they're not subject to some of the other provisions. So they're not exempt entirely. One of those provisions is communications. So Mount Vernon, we're hearing of their incredible track record, their incredible experience. We're hearing about Corporate Housing Solutions, owner of like over 80 Airbnbs throughout the country, and some in Boston, that they're both experienced, but they failed to communicate in writing to abutters, to neighbors and neighborhood associations, which is traditional in Boston, prior to the hearing that awarded the license in September. This followed public communications to neighbors that the lodging house would stay as is in August, directly at a meeting at Five Horse, with rentals of 30+ days or more. So this 10-day average stay that we're hearing is incredibly false. Just last weekend with the Yankees in town, there were at least 2 couples that stayed just for one night, for one game, and left the next day. At least 2 couples that we spoke with. So keep in mind, we're here, we don't ignore people. This is a neighborhood, a very tight neighborhood. So when we see people, we say hi and we engage with them. So the gray area is, we know it's legal to list a property at 44 on Airbnb. The challenge is we feel that there's just a little game playing here. There's a game playing with the loopholes. And we don't have a high-powered attorney representing us on this call. And we appreciate that you were able to do that. But one of the things that we're finding is that during the spring, summer months, when it was listed, and we understand pandemic, well below market rate, that with no minimum stay required, that what happened was, first there was a host for the Airbnb that was listed at 44 Concord Square, named Frederick or Alexander, right? And then conveniently, once our
I don't want to cut you off this way, but we did receive your email with all this information, and just out of the interest of time, if you want to wrap it up.
I will.
Because I got this exact information in the email.
Okay. Thank you. I will wrap it up. So I think, while we understand today's hearing is about quality of life, it's also about a blatant violation of trust of a neighborhood who in good faith agreed to keep short-term rentals as a lodging house and feared an Airbnb hotel. We feel that this has become an Airbnb hotel, and we are looking beyond this for the licensing board to, make a determination, and hopefully we can continue this conversation in the future, including a potential suspension of the license. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I am going to take, is it Nick from Representative Santiago's office? If you would like to speak, and after that, I will go back to the public, and we would like you to limit your testimony to 2 minutes or less, and state your name and address for the record. If you would like to submit an email, you are more than welcome. I will put the email in the chat, so you will be able to write it down. Nick,
we will not be speaking. We submitted written comments earlier and would like to yield to the rest of our neighbors.
Is there any other elected official or their representative that wishes to testify today? Okay, we're going to go back to the public, and we're going to ask everyone to limit their testimony to 2 minutes.
And I did see a Todd that would like to speak.
Yes, thank you. My name is Todd Bowling. My wife, Christina, and I live next door at 46 Concord Square. Our unit is the garden and parlor level, and so our entrance directly abuts the entrance of the stoop to 44 Concord Square. We've been living in the South End since 2010. I've been living at 46 Concord Square since 2017. And I have obviously experienced the neighborhood and understand what the South End is all about. And we had a meeting with Mount Vernon Group at Five Horses that was referenced when they wanted us to support their licensing. And they spoke about the previous bad behavior that had been in place when they had leased it out to a different operator, and how that kind of behavior was not going to exist anymore. They were going to run this building themselves. They weren't going to lease it out to somebody else. And unfortunately, that's exactly what has happened. And I have 2 small children. I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. My 7-year-old's bedroom window looks right out onto this stoop. She sees the people coming and going. I see the people coming and going. I have a video camera in my backyard, so I see all of this when I'm not even there as well. I also travel for work. And so there are several nights a week where I'm not home and my wife is there, witnessing the verbal altercations, the yelling and screaming, the drug use. We keep our windows closed because I can identify tobacco and marijuana smoke. But there's other smoke that I can't identify that comes wafting in our windows. And so, it's to echo Renee's comments. This is the first time that I felt uncomfortable in the South End, and it's unacceptable. I have concerns about my children's safety and their experience and what it's like to live in the city, which is something that up to this point I've really valued. And so I would ask that these comments be considered because I no longer feel comfortable sharing a fence, sharing a backyard with 44. There's literally a fence that goes between our property and 44, which Mount Vernon actually very nicely replaced that fence. That was a nice thing that they did. But on the other side of that fence are a number of problems, to the point where there's broken glass that ends up in my property. There are cigarette butts. There's all kinds of other things like that. And I have concerns about taking my kids out there after dark to, hang out in the backyard. And so thank you for your consideration today.
Thank you, Todd. Stephen?
Yes. My wife and I have lived here for 17 years.
Can you say your name and address, please, for the record?
Stephen Grindle, 45 Concord Square, apartment 1, sorry. We live directly across the street from 44. We've lived here for 17 years. I want to echo what Todd has said and what Renee has said about this being a very comfortable, tight community, about how important it is feeling safe on your stoop, where during the COVID-19, even in the worst of days, we would entertain. And most of all, I'm here to say that the breach of trust that I feel has occurred, because I too attended that 5-horse meetings. And similar to today, after I listened to the representatives talk about this, well, what's the problem? And then you hear that the problem is that they have no idea what's going on there, or they're purposely misleading the board as to what's going on there. We were told 30 days would be the kind of stay, that there would be virtually no change in how the rooming board would be operated. And again, that they would not be turning it into an Airbnb. I think Airbnb was one of the words bounced around at that 5-horses meeting. So for all those reasons, I think the board should look closely at suspending or revoking the license and look more to what these folks are doing rather than what they're saying. They talk a hell of a game, but they really need to step up and do what they said they were going to do if they want to continue to operate. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Stephen Fox?
Thank you, Maureen.
And what is your address, sir?
I live at 59 Rutland Square, which is within spitting distance of 44 through the alleyway. I'm not a direct abutter, so I really want to defer to the direct abutters because I think they have a far more pertinent testimony. But I do want to call the board's attention to 2 key factors. One is that I happen to chair the South End Forum, which is the umbrella organization for all the neighborhood associations of the South End. So we deal with lodging house licensees throughout the entire South End. This is the very first time in 25 years that we've ever seen this level of disjointed operations in a lodging house. We know about the lodging house on Berkeley Street. We're familiar with the Upton. Both of the neighborhood associations there have been very supportive of the work and the efforts that have gone on in those locations. So there's something fundamentally wrong with this particular location. And I want to point out what I think it is. And I think it's that this lodging house is not functioning in the traditional sense of a lodging house. It's really functioning as a day-to-day hotel, a night-to-night hotel, and it's using Airbnb as the vehicle. I helped draft the short-term rental ordinance for the city of Boston, and I understand that we have a loophole in lodging houses, and I understand what that means. I just want this licensing board to take a look at the fact that this operation is not functioning in the traditional sense of what a lodging house has done in terms of housing a particular type of individual with a particular need in our neighborhood. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Jen Sai, and I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. What is your address, please?
Jennifer Sai at 47 Concord Square. I've been here for 4.5 years with my husband and our 4-year-old son. I've already written a letter to the licensing board, and I just wanted to add one incident that happened probably in August, where my son and I were sitting outside on the stoop enjoying the weather, and we saw a woman pull up, and she was pulling a lot of stuff out of the car, and it looked as if it was someone moving into a college dorm. And I was just looking, and she looked over and said, "What the hell are you looking at?" And that is not the type of response I had expected. So I was kind of taken aback. My son heard it. Good thing he didn't react to it. But, the worst I've ever gotten sitting on a stoop is a neighbor or somebody walk by and not say hi to me. But never would I have thought that, I would hear someone say, "What the hell are you looking at?" And while she was moving in, because she had a lot of stuff, the door was propped open for a very long time. So for that code to be logged every time someone enter, it's kind of pointless, because that's also not the only time I've seen a door propped open for an extended period of time. Yeah, we just want to be able to be here, sit on the stoop and feel safe, or come home late at night and feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Mary Owens, can I have your address, please?
Hi, my husband and I are catty corner to the building. We live at 43 Concord Square. In the warm weather months, we're often sitting on our stoop, so we see quite a bit of what goes on and the traffic in and out of the building. I wrote a letter to Leslie, who apparently Leslie Hawkins, isn't apparently involved in this summer. And I mentioned a few issues, but I just want to say, in 2018, our daughter graduated from Boston Latin. We had a lot of relatives come. We couldn't house them all. So, I had some relatives staying at this rooming house. It seemed fine. It also seemed considerably, better managed. And I know the pandemic was tough, but we have witnessed people who seem, frankly, on some kind of substance. They're messed up in one way or another. We have heard yelling. We have seen just shady looking people. And in July, late July, when we were sitting out with our dog on the stoop, my husband engaged, a couple that, with suitcases, they were leaving, and they said that they felt that they were misled by false advertising. They came and thought they were getting a 2-bedroom suite, and instead it was a cramped micro studio. Now because I was curious about the building that I've been, we've lived here for 27 years. I had gone in 2018 to my sister's rented place and saw, yeah, they're quite cramped. I think there's probably 3 to a floor. It was fine, it was functional. But I'm just concerned that if they are sort of subletting, the management to other entities, and they're running deceptive advertising and so on, it just feels like they're skirting all sorts of rules. And this is some kind of hybrid operation that I'm not sure if the city has the means to check up on everyone. But I feel like they have been bad actors, and their attorney is presenting a picture of their management that is not supported by the day-to-day experience that we're seeing. And we're longtime South Enders. We love our neighborhood. We don't expect Pollyanna, suburban, whatever. We're pretty well versed in the challenges of city life, but something's going on here that shouldn't be allowed to stand. And I just wanted to put in my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. In the chat, I did put in the email for licensing board at boston.gov if you do want to submit an email, or you can submit it to my email at maureen.burgoyne@boston.gov. That will both get to the board. Chairwoman Joyce?
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to testify before I go back to my questions? Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Pursley, please go ahead.
I want to make sure. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. We don't have experiences like this very often. In fact, I don't think I've ever had one. We've been in business for 30 years. Indeed, we had a meeting with the neighborhood, and we made certain assurances as to how this thing would run. What frustrates me is we are totally accessible. In fact, I think at that meeting, I gave out my cell phone number. I do that often. I'll go in front of a community meeting in front of 100 people and give my cell phone number because I'm not afraid to address issues that people are concerned about. To hear all of this without anyone reaching out to us, we don't want this kind of meeting. We don't want the neighbors upset with us, but we're not mind readers. We can't solve a problem that we don't know, that we are not aware it exists. So I am more than interested and willing to help solve this. I don't want a building that is problematical. It just isn't, it isn't how we do things. And we've been around long enough where you would know by now if we were irresponsible operators. In fact, I think the value of our company and our brand is 180 degrees different. But we need to know there's a problem. And if the neighborhood goes right to the licensing board and skirts the people that can solve the problem, then, of course, there's going to be frustration built up. So, this is a transient use to one reason, in one way or another. It's a lodging house. But I honestly don't care what loopholes there may or may not be. This building is not critical enough for us to ruin our reputation over. And so what I would like to do is, I've heard a lot of things here that, don't make me very happy. And I'm going to get to the bottom of it. But what I would like to do is encourage this neighborhood to come to us, because we are, I think, as transparent and as open a book as there is around here in this business. And I personally want to find out what the heck is going on, because you can't have this many complaints. And I don't suspect everyone got in a room together and said, let's all make up complaints. And then and so where there's smoke, there's fire, I suppose, but I need to know what's going on from everyone. So all I'd like to say is we want to solve this. We want to be a good neighbor, but we need direct feedback versus having this kind of avalanche of complaints that we literally, or I certainly literally knew nothing about. So that's all I want to say. It's hard to hear criticism about our promising and representing things and in effect being dishonest. It isn't the way we do things. So all I want to say to the city officials here is that we hear what's being said. We want to get to the bottom of it, and we want the neighbors to be, we want their problem solved, because it benefits no one, including us.
Thank you. And I have a couple of more comments. And I think you kind of set the table for me, Mr. Pursley. It sounds like we have a very active community here that loves their neighborhood. They consider themselves part of a neighborhood. And we have an operator that takes pride in his business reputation and takes pride in in his job. I do recognize the fact that during COVID, a lot of these places had to pivot and shift some of their business model. But I think we need to get back to putting things in place that make everyone feel safe. Mr. Bowling stated that when he's away, he can look at the cameras in the back of his property and see the neighbors at this location doing these things that put him in fear. One suggestion would be, if you have cameras in the back of your place too, have the management company be monitoring them. That's what I was trying to get at. Do you just check the people in and look at their identification and their selfie? But you can still remotely monitor these places through security cameras. And I think that would go a long way for you to see exactly what the neighbors are seeing. The other thing is that, and going to the same point, the door is propped open. I think that's a concern for everyone. And again, I think that could be resolved with having security monitoring these cameras that you've installed at your location. I think the biggest lesson here is that you have to communicate with the neighborhood. We have to get you guys in touch with each other. And I don't think it's one meeting. I think it should be something you work on continuously as we begin to reopen our city and as things change because of COVID. This, like I said at the beginning, this isn't a meeting to revoke a license. It's a meeting to help identify some of the issues that have been brought to our attention and we want to bring to your attention. And I think the text number and the email are great, but I'm more concerned with the response, like how long it's going to take for Mr. Bowling to get in touch with someone and someone to get out there if he's on his camera and sees somebody in the back alley or the backyard doing something that makes him nervous while he's away. Those are just my comments listening to this. I'm going to ask Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon if they have any comments they'd like to share. And I'm going to ask that either through Attorney Hanley or Mr. Pursley to keep the licensing board up to date on what your next steps are. Commissioner Curran?
Nothing to add, I would second your comments.
Yeah, I second yours. I just think of how our refrigerator begins to ding when you leave the refrigerator door open long enough. So there are ways to keep the building monitored, even if there's not someone there.
I just don't think security cameras do anything if no one's watching them. I'm going to ask one more time, is there anyone else here who wishes to testify?
I think there's some people in the chat who have indicated they want to
Commissioner
testify.
Joyce, if I can just say,
Sure. Could you state your name?
sorry, Commissioner Joyce, it's John Moran. I'm 18 Concord Square. Active in a lot of the neighborhood association stuff. But I guess I'd go back to Mr. Pursley and I'd ask you the question. I know you're saying communication isn't there, but the question that I think is real is that how did you ever think putting an Airbnb on a quiet South End street was ever going to work? I mean, that's such a false sense of reaching out to us when you're basically doing something that's impossible to work. So if you want to really have communications with us, let's put a model back in where you have long-term leases. That I used to work at Liberty Mutual Insurance, and a lot of my coworkers stayed there at that building before you guys took over. So the question becomes, how do you ever think you're just putting, lipstick on a pig if you're ever going to do an Airbnb in that location?
Thank you, Mr. Moran.
Is that a question to me?
No, that's pretty much a statement, but you don't have an answer to, I'm sure.
Well, look, I'm trying to be constructive, and we lived through something in the pandemic that was brutal, and we tried to respond to it because economically we were getting crushed. The same with our hotel. It was you lose millions of dollars at a time like this. I am going to chat with our operator and to just put everything on the table. But I can hear the anger in your voice, but I will tell you, if you knew us better, you would know that we don't play games. It just isn't the way we do things. Obviously, we want something to be economically viable, but I don't. This isn't the kind of this. Fortunately, is somewhat of a foreign experience for us. We don't go through stuff like this. So I'm going to put our team together and find out what we can do here, because I don't like having people who are angry at us, who feel we have wronged them. So I would ask that you have a little bit of faith, not a lot, just a little bit, and have a little bit of patience, and let us regroup and figure out how we can deal with what we're hearing today.
Mr. Langen, can you please state your address, please?
Yes, I'm James Langen, and I reside at 42 Concord Square, and I've been an owner of my unit since the last 27 years. I mirror some of the same concerns and complaints that Renee and Kate had.
You're breaking up, sir. Hello? I'm gonna move on to Guy Messier and then come back to Mr. Langen if he comes off of being frozen.
Hello? Oops, sorry, there are two of us online. Sorry, okay, thank you.
It's still, I think you're too close together.
All right, I muted myself and I'm talking. Can you just log out now?
Yeah, I just did.
Sorry about that. Hi, Guy Messier, 43 Concord Square. I've lived here roughly 27 years. We're across the street from the building. I'm pretty familiar with the building. I've been inside it over time. We've had relatives stay there. It used to be operated fairly well. Wasn't inexpensive. The last few years, it's been a much bumpier ride. There's been, like a lot of people have said, there's been a lot of not great activity. I've seen people staggering out of there, stoned out of their minds, or somehow otherwise affected. Also, I talked to a couple of people that came out of there that seemed okay, but they had been pretty maltreated by whoever's operating the place, and they left early. Really, it could be a good resource, for short-term stays, not one night. But the way it's been operated has certainly not been beneficial to the neighborhood at all. It's been a real detriment. And we have enough people from Mass and Cass, because you might say that's not related, but it all piles on people walking through the neighborhood out of their trees, and we're worried about safety in general. I've been here through lots of stuff when the neighborhood wasn't so tarted up and didn't have as much fixed up housing stock, and when it was a little scarier to walk late at night, although I feel it is reverting back to that, and this building is helping push it back to the bad side. I'm going to guess that
Okay,
Ursley is not
Excuse
living
me?
here. Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Messier,
Yeah.
your 2 minutes is up. Can you wrap it up, please?
I'd be happy to wrap it up.
Thank you.
Monitoring technology is not a brand new thing. If people can have it in their own house, I'm sure that this property could have had it and should have had it. And if there's such experienced operators, it's beyond me why they didn't, because they don't have any on-site management and they don't have any daily visiting. People self-check in. I have never seen someone check someone in. I'm a small-time landlord. I meet everybody that comes to our building. If there's somebody that's visiting a tenant that I don't know, I introduce myself. I'm here every freaking day. If I owned a 17-unit building, 16 of which are legal and of one in the basement of which is not, and hopefully not being used, I would be over there every freaking day, morning and afternoon. And there is nobody at all doing that, because we live here. I work at home. I'm here every day, all the time, more than almost anybody. Well, it
Okay,
actually is a
thank-
challenge. Okay, so
Thank you.
monitor the place and do a better job, because right now it sucks.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Mr. Langen, did you get back on? Chairwoman Joyce?
I just want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak that hasn't spoken yet. So I'm going to flip through my screen. I see Bob Barney. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, hi, my name is Bob Barney. I live at 463 Mass Ave, a few streets away. I'm president of the Claremont Neighborhood Association. I really just want to reinforce what everybody said. For me, I've heard from about 60 neighbors. So I think today is a small part of that, about the operations of this facility. But I have a question for maybe you, Kathleen. This is a lodging house. My understanding is there's one person per room. Is that true?
It doesn't have to be one person per room.
Doesn't? Okay.
No.
So that's not, even though it's got a 16-person occupancy in the license, it's not one person per room.
I have to pull up the license. ISD would set that number, I think.
And the reason I ask it is I think it kind of goes back to a lot of the questions that have been asked, if it's being used as an Airbnb and there are 3 people in a room, times 16, it gets pretty pretty much up there. So I just want to get the perspective of the board of how that should work for a lodging house.
I'd have to take a look at their license more closely
Okay.
and the capacity that's set by ISD.
Okay, because the capacity thing is a big deal for, I think, for neighbors. You know, if we have 16 neighbors in a building, usually buildings of that size maybe have about 10 people. And then if you have 16 occupancy times, you know, 2 or 3, because it's being used as an Airbnb, it significantly increases the traffic on this very quiet street. And I think it would become more difficult to manage for Mount Vernon. So I think there needs to be some clarity about that point.
Okay. I'm sorry, I can't put my hands on it right now. I know it's in my share drive. We can get you that information with an explanation. Okay.
So just in general, I just want to say Claremont fully supports the residents that have spoken today. We've heard multiple messages all along the same line about the concerns about the operation of this facility. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to flip really quickly through both pages of my computer monitor. I don't see anyone else's hand raised. And I don't have any other questions or comments. Is it Terry? Would you like to wrap up with a final comment?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I just wanted to ask some questions to neighbors. Out of everyone here, I hear a lot of the same concerns. Who here is concerned about shady looking people going in and out of the building? Okay, so a significant number of people, an overwhelming majority of people are really concerned about these shady looking characters going in and out of the building.
Well, why do you ask that? I guess that's my question.
I'm just gonna, I feel like the licensing board has done their job today. I'm gonna ask the members of the public in the neighborhood and the management company to set up their own meetings and to keep us posted. So with that,
That is the final agenda item on the board today. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.